Hello everyone, this is Garrett, and this is Serious Sam 3, and we're about to do level 12, the last level of the game, the Guardian of Time.
Oh, come on! Don't do this to me. Oh, shit.
So,
I'm a lot of things, fella, but I am not your lunch.
immediately we're starting off with the worm coming towards us, and as such, we're just gonna have to run away, because the worm, not our friend still, does look quite cool, but he's not our friend. I've kind of put off recording this level, also, there's some Christmas decorations for you there. I'm currently recording this on, like mid-January. I'm still getting that thing where for some reason the moddable version is a little bit late with their Christmas decorations. It didn't work during Christmas, it does work now. I don't know why, it just happens. But yeah, I've kind of put off recording this level because I honestly don't actually like it very much. I genuinely don't think it's a very good level, and I'll probably get into that as we're playing the game, because this level is about an hour and a half long, so eventually I'm gonna run out of things to talk about and just start ranting about the level. So we get a cannonball, just one right now, and we're pretty much only gonna use it on one specific set of enemies, and we're just gonna move forward. There is a lot of rockets and C4 in this level. It is pretty much gonna be my main weapon, honestly, because it's just incredibly useful. There's so much of those boxes lying all over the place where you can just refill all of your ammo. So this is not even a bad idea. We're gonna be fighting an, quite frankly, insane amount of purple people over here, alongside with some other types of enemies. But the first half of the level, honestly, it's gonna be a lot of this, to be honest. But fortunately, we have a large quantity of C4 to take care of things very quickly. The main thing you really need to look out for is that you don't accidentally stick it onto the enemy, because it can lead to you accidentally blowing yourself up. For some reason, I'm just really bad at not being close to enemies sometimes.
Would you consider attacking one at a time?
Like, for some reason, whenever I stick something to an enemy with C4, usually they'll end up somehow running into my face and I'll just die horribly. And it's just rather unfortunate. Missing enemies in this level is fairly unlikely, but it does happen sometimes. I had one occasion where I just missed two enemies somewhere at the start of the level, and I honestly don't really know why or where or how, but it just happens. I'm gonna be a little bit reckless every now and then just to get more ammo, but this is sort of like what my point. You can sort of, as long as you keep moving, you probably won't ever get hit by these guys. They were all just right next to that box, and I still managed to just run in there and grab some C4 and then leave again without any issue at all. But whatever, we're just gonna let it do what it does best, I suppose. The first area of the game, this battle over here, it already has 375 enemies, which is roughly the same amount as the entire previous level, which is kind of hilarious. Like, this level has 1700 something enemies, and that's 500 more than the previous highest level. Like, the last highest level was the Dark Bride, which I also criticized because it also just had a ridiculous amount of enemies that just didn't really fill the area very well. This level in particular, I don't think it's very just interesting, honestly, just because there is no ammo management. You just use this for most of the level. Either this or rockets, because there's also going to be a lot of boxes with infinite rockets as well. And I think if you're playing this level in co-op, then it does make a little bit more sense. If you're playing this level in co-op, specifically with infinite ammo, which is basically how people used to play the old Serious Sam games in co-op as well. Like, you just put on infinite ammo and you just shoot stuff. And in that case, it does kind of work well, because honestly, then you can just sort of do whatever you want, and it is definitely a lot more interesting. Now, we are sort of limiting ourselves to, like, these specific weapons. Also, you have to be a little bit careful, I suppose, because every now and then you're gonna have some scrapjacks in the back over there, and they will try to kill us. I will actually just use the Devastator to take him down. I will probably actually use, like, some of the secret weapons we found in the previous level as well, because weapons like the laser gun and sniper rifle, they don't drop in this level at all. But seeing as it's the final level of the game, we might as well use them. Plus, there is actually a secret that contains ammo for the laser gun as well, so it would be kind of a shame if we never got to use that. And I'll probably find some places to use it here and there. It doesn't really matter if you don't have those weapons, because again, you have so many options when it comes to explosives that you honestly don't need to use the weapons, but they're just kind of fun to use every now and then, especially since I've kind of avoided using the laser gun pretty much the entire game because it's just really powerful. And seeing as I still have a lot of Devastator ammo as well, it doesn't really matter what I do. Like, I can just get away with just about everything here, and honestly, it's not really going to make a large difference in the long run in terms of survivability. There is, however, a reasonably low amount of health and armor in this level, at least at the start of the level over here, which can actually lead to some problems. Like, if you accidentally get clipped by a Scrapjack rocket or something like that, you might have to run back, because most of the health power-ups over here are just at the very start of the level. Like, there's a couple of health power-ups and armor power-ups which we didn't pick up just because, well, we can't. We're currently at full health and armor, so obviously we can't just pick those up. And I will actually run forward in just a second just to spawn a little bit more stuff over here. I'm going to spawn some Scrapjacks in that direction as well, but right now we're just killing purple guys over there, and it's not really that interesting, honestly. But yeah, you can, even not with infinite ammo, you can actually get away with using a lot of different weapons, and you'll probably still be fine. But given that the C4 is just really good at clearing large numbers of enemies like this, I do actually prefer it over using something like this, unless there's like just a couple enemies in front of me or something like that. But using C4 is just really effective against these guys, just because the C4 has a pretty large like blast radius, and these guys have like no health. Like, they die in 2 shots from the pistol, so they die from just about any part of the explosion as well, which is nice. Now, there is a couple of Scrapjacks over there as well. Honestly, probably the main enemy in this level is the sun, because the sun is really bright in this level, and it can be very easy to just accidentally just miss something like a rocket flying towards you, and then you just take so much damage. There is, however, a couple of battles which are kind of tricky. They don't immediately show up, and seeing as this level is, again, about an hour and a half long, it takes a while for us to get to the interesting parts, honestly. And I wouldn't even really call them interesting. They're just sort of, you have to know about what to do, because otherwise you'll just die. There is an achievement for beating this level without ever loading the game, I believe. And you also have to play on Serious, I think, but we might not get that. I'm not sure. Also, there is a secret up there. There's some Devastator ammo on top of a box. If you shoot it, it falls down, and that's secret number 1 of 4. There are 4 secrets in this level, and obviously if you get the last 4 secrets in this level, then you will also get the achievement for doing the cool stuff, for doing for getting all the secrets in the game. So that is nice. Another Christmas present, which I guess we haven't actually seen before, because again, I didn't actually record the previous levels during a time where the Christmas decorations worked. So there you go. But we are currently at 375 enemies, so we can move forward. Just pick up some random stuff over here. That is a box that contains rockets, and obviously we are going to be using that for these guys over here. Although at first we're just going to be fighting a bunch of headless kamikazes. And honestly, you might as well just use whatever weapon you want, because the splash damage of their own explosions is going to take care of a lot of them as well. So it doesn't really matter too much. But rockets do actually work quite well here, obviously. Again, these guys have very little health. They have the same amount of health as the purple Rocketeers. So obviously, as long as you...
The pain hasn't even started yet.
As long as you just sort of hit them, you'll be okay. And you also have a lot of room to move back. You can just about at any point in a level just return to the very start of the level if you just run there. And it is something that the second encounter did as well. Like, Serious Sam, the second encounter for their final level, where you could actually just run back the entire level and it would be entirely fine. The thing is, with that game, I feel like they did a little bit better, because they would actually spawn some more power-ups behind you as well. Especially the, like, faster run power-ups. You'd have, like, roller skates in that game, which I'm not actually sure if they're even in this game at all, but roller skates, that will make you move really fast. So even if you did backtrack for some power-ups, like some health or ammo and stuff like that, you could you could generally make it back to where you were very quickly by just picking up one of those roller skate power-ups and just going back as quickly as possible. And in this level, you don't really, like, in this game, you just don't have that, so it takes a, like, backtracking is just not very exciting, but sometimes you just don't really have a choice, because it can be a little bit easy to get overwhelmed, and you don't want that. There's a couple of battles where I will actually just spawn the enemies and then just run back as quickly as possible, because you'll just get really overwhelmed. There's just a couple of areas where it's just really awkward to fight, and then it's just better to just run back a bit and just fight them in a different area. But we'll see what happens. For now, we're just going to keep shooting things. There is going to be clear skeletons after a while, as you can see. At any point in time, I kind of want to try to get to that box of rocket launcher ammo, but it does get a little bit hectic, obviously, due to the large quantity of enemies that are continuously going towards us. But at any point in time where I can try and grab some more ammo for the rocket launcher, I will. I'm going to try to avoid picking up that little box over there, the Christmas present, because most likely it's just going to be a 100 or maybe even a 200 health power up, because that's just how those Christmas presents work. And obviously that's not very representative of playing at any point in time other than Christmas, so I'm going to try to avoid that. But if I do step over it, then what are you going to do? It doesn't really matter too much, because again, this is kind of the same like problem I had with a lot of levels in Serious Sam 2, where you just have a lot of space with not enough enemies to actually continuously overwhelm. Like, there's going to be a couple areas where we're going to have to run back, but for a large portion of it, we are just sort of fighting a lot of nothing. And it's just not very interesting. I would maybe even go as far as to say that the final level of Serious Sam 2 was actually better than this one. Just because it's just... In Serious Sam 2, the way they did it is that they basically closed off the area behind you every time, and then they just sort of made a new area with walls surrounding you that way. And it was actually a really interesting way of making like the levels sort of form around you the entire time, while simultaneously working with limitations of consoles that just didn't really handle large areas very well in that game. But yeah, I would say that that game actually did a little bit of a better job, just because being able to run back all the way makes this kind of a joke, because if you are patient enough, it is just virtually impossible to die, basically, because there's just a lot of areas where it's very easy to avoid damage. You'll basically have infinite ammo at all times due to these boxes over here, and because of it, there isn't really a challenge as long as you're patient enough. And lack of patience is a very good way of dying in this level as well, I will say that much, because again, it does start off with a reasonable lack of power-ups, so you do have to know at this point how to deal with scrapjacks and stuff like that in open areas. But it's not impossible. It's definitely not impossible at all. We're just going to move forward. There's actually quite a lot of Christmas presents in this level, which surprises me, but there you go. It does make the level a little bit easier. I'm usually kind of hesitant to use the Devastator in this level, just due to the fact that you just get more rockets and C4, and I guess my mind's like, don't use it, it's a waste. But honestly, there's a lot of situations where the Devastator is actually really useful. But as long as I can avoid it, I'm going to try not to do it too much, just because, again, just rockets, they work really well, and C4 works really well, and we are just getting constant refills anyway. So why not, right? Why not? At some point, I'm not really sure when I'm going to be using the secret weapon, stuff like the sniper rifle and the laser gun. Usually when I practice a level, I just sort of do the custom level select thing, and then you just sort of start off with base values of certain weapons, like you start off with 100 minigun bullets and 10 rockets and stuff like that. And you don't actually get to use secret weapons like the laser gun and the sniper rifle that way, because you just don't have them in this level. They don't drop, they don't exist. So the only way to use the laser gun and the sniper rifle in this level is by having it from a previous level. And as such, I just didn't really plan around using those weapons at all. And obviously you don't even need to if you don't want to, obviously, due to the fact that you get so much ammo for the rocket. Like, that is just a point that I cannot reiterate enough. You get so many instances where you just refill all of your rockets that you can effectively use it the entire level and just never run out of anything. It isn't until like the later points in the level where you're just gonna fight ridiculous armies where you actually need to use a different strategy other than like using just C4 and rockets. But you probably could actually beat the level if you're patient enough, only using the rocket launcher, but it would be kind of a tedious experience in the long run, because there is a couple of fights which they're just pretty silly. Honestly, they are fights where you actually kind of need to be prepared for beforehand, where you'll get ammo for like the cannon, but you kind of don't want to use it due to the fact that the enemies you'll fight later on are just much more valuable enemies, I suppose, and you want to be sure that you can fight those guys easily. But we're just gonna hang out over here. We're just gonna keep shooting stuff. You can hear a biomechanoid in the distance, but it's kind of just walking back and forth forever. It never actually walks towards you, which is odd, but what are you gonna do? And I should also mention, I think at the end of this battle, I intend to have 777 kills, which again is almost more than most other levels, honestly. And we are not even close to being at the end. We are 50 minutes in. We are not even close to being at the end of this level. The estimated time for this level is like 1 hour and 20 minutes, I think. And you can shorten that if you just skip some enemies. Like, you can technically run past enemies. There is nothing... Well, the only thing stopping you from that is that you're basically spawning more and more enemies. And after a while, you will just run into armies which will just most likely kill you unless you're playing on a pretty low difficulty. But on serious, running through a lot of the armies is a bit of an unviable solution. Again, you can in some case, like definitely the last battle, because after the last battle you sort of run into this area and then you just get teleported to a different place, so it doesn't really matter if you didn't kill those guys. But like, try to run through this, like try to run through all those scrapjacks and kamikazes all at the same time and clear skeletons, and we're only like a fraction into the level. It's just way too dangerous to try and run past things. So yeah, it's, I don't know, man. Not the most valid of strategies if you ask me, but if you are playing on tourist, you can just run. Like, the fun thing about tourist difficulty, or playing on multiplayer, honestly, is that you can just hold forward and run. You can just run past everything. And if you play like online multiplayer and you do it on serious, you will just die over and over, but you know, you'll just respawn, so it doesn't really matter all that much. But oh well. We're just gonna hang out, we're just gonna keep shooting kamikazes until they get bored, and then we can move on to the next battle. At least at this rate, as long as we just keep killing purple people, we will very quickly reach the halfway point in terms of kills. It's just that after a while we're gonna fight actually strong enemies. And until then we are just basically fighting very tediously small groups of not very interesting enemies. Like, clear skeletons are just not gonna do anything here, because this area is just too big. And unless you just run forward, then they will actually bother you a lot. And there is an area that's coming up where having enemies behind you is extremely dangerous, because you'll end up fighting basically a bunch of those flying harpy time stopper people. I don't really know what they're called. I always forget what they're called, but they're basically the ones that fly around and try to stop you in place. And obviously that's not too great to have when there's also a bunch of enemies coming up behind you. Which is why we're taking it safe. Plus, I did say we were going to kill all the enemies. In this level, it is possible to kill all the enemies as per usual. It's only in one level, the Dark Bride, I believe, where it seems to be impossible to actually do that. So that's cool. So in this level, we can actually kill everyone, and then during the entire game, we've only missed one enemy, basically, at the end of it. So that is pretty neat. That is definitely something I've never done before in a serious Sam game, so it's kind of neat to have gotten that done at some point in my life. Now, there should be 2 more enemies coming this way, I believe. Probably, like, purple rocketeers, but I'm just gonna hang out over here for a while. I might actually just see if they're over here somewhere. Yeah, there they are. 2 of those. And then enemy number 777 is our good friend over there, who just walks left and right forever. Like, you can actually kill that one with rockets very easily as well, just because he walks to the left and then stands still for like 5 seconds, and then he walks to the right again. Every now and then he'll try to fire at you, but it doesn't really work. And then there's more purple people. Like, even the first time I played this level, I also said, like, this just isn't very fun. This is just kind of pointless. I just feel like I'm bullying a large army of ants, and it's just, my arsenal is way stronger than what these guys are delivering in terms of danger. And it's just a bit mean, honestly. I'm just being a jerk. I'm just destroying everyone's friends right now that really don't even really want to have a part in this, I don't think, but what are you gonna do? Bunch of minigun ammo over here, which is actually kind of semi-important. It's useful at least, so that's kind of nice. And with that, we're just gonna keep moving on. Doesn't really matter which side of the rock you go past, but, you know, just be careful of that biomechanoid. Again, I believe that biomechanoid doesn't actually move, so as long as you just run back, you'll be entirely okay. And this is one of those instances where it is actually kind of important to start running back, because after it does spawn a fairly large amount of guys here, and it's kind of awkward to fight them when they're all coming towards you. Right now they're coming from left and right, And if you walk back, you'll just funnel them into just a much safer zone. And this battle becomes a lot easier because of it. And obviously, this is sort of what they had in mind, with being able to walk back as far as just the entire level through. Like, it is kind of intended, I guess, to lure enemies back as much as possible. But it makes me wonder why why did they not just do something else? Because if I die in this level, I'm going to be very surprised if it's anywhere except for maybe the final boss. Because the final boss is kind of a strange one. I haven't really practiced it very much. It is kind of an awkward battle for me because I'm just not extraordinarily good at it or anything. But I'm going to be honest. With every other level, I've basically played through the entire level a couple times just to get a little bit familiar with the level. In this particular level, I've played through the entire level once. Then I've practiced the boss battle for a bit. And then my phone made a noise. That was kind of weird. But, like, I played through the entire level once. Then I practiced the boss battle for a bit. And then I just sort of did the first half of the level, and then I just kept getting bored and stopped playing. So there's a very good chance I'm just going to forget like an army somewhere along the line and just die horribly. But I'm going to say it's very unlikely. And it is also very possible that I'm going to die at the final boss, because my strategy for it is honestly stupid and not very well prepared. But what are you going to do? But whatever. We're just here to have a good time. We're just here to shoot people. And that's exactly what we are going to do. Eventually we'll run out of enemies. That'll happen one day, maybe. I'm not really sure when, but I'm sure one of these days we'll actually get to the point where we can move forward again. It's just that no one really knows when that is.
I'm fucking Michelangelo.
Indeedly do. Now, we should be at 904 enemies, but that is because we're at 903. But that's because I sort of just didn't kill the red biomechanoid just yet. So there you go. Getting a bunch of power-ups to refill and everything. Kill the biomechanoid that's still just sort of standing there forever. Because he's a friend. Doesn't seem to want to shoot us ever, but that's not going to stop us from being a jerk and killing him. We've already killed all of his friends, so we might as well kill him too to end the suffering. So when you move forward here, it's going to spawn like groups of 4 clear skeletons every now and then. But we have rockets, so we can just destroy it very, very quickly. And then there's a couple red biomechanoids over here as well. One is standing sort of hidden behind that little wall over there. But there's only 2 of them, so it's very unlikely that they're going to deal any damage. That guy, usually it's a good idea to like shoot once there and then just start shooting in that direction, because he'll usually walk through the wall a bit. Like that. And then if you actually aim correctly, he'll actually be dead. But I sort of failed at that one. So, I guess this might actually be a good time to use a sniper rifle in a second. First, I'm actually going to move forward. There's actually a Christmas tree over there as well, because again, it's Christmas. It's not mid-January. It's Christmas. And I'm going to move forward until enemies spawn, and I'm going to run back again. I'm actually going to grab the Devastator and reload it real quick, just to be safe. And there we go. And immediately we're going to run back. This is kind of one of those battles where it's just a trick. Honestly, if you're not prepared for it, it's a very good chance you'll die, because there's 2 helicopters, and 2 helicopters hurt a lot if you're not ready for them. But we were ready for them, and that's why they died very quickly. But I do remember, I think it was this area where the first time I entered it, I just got destroyed by those guys. But if you're prepared for them, they just die very quickly to the Devastator. And this is where the fun begins, because there are 5, I think it's 5 of those enemies, the ones that like stop you in place and things. And we're just gonna use the sniper rifle for at least a part of it, I guess. But this battle is terrible. This is just the stupidest nonsense, honestly, because it just goes on and on. Why are there so many of these guys? I have no idea, but that's just how this area works. That's how we're gonna deal with it. I'm gonna see if maybe we can use a laser gun over here, because it might actually not be that bad of an idea. We're actually gonna get an area, like an ammo refuel for this gun in this area as well, so maybe we'll be able to deal a little bit more damage with this gun than we would ordinarily be able to do with like the rocket launcher or something, though I highly doubt it. But at least now we finally get to see this gun in action a little bit more than usual, where we just sort of sit around. And it does actually seem to work quite well, so there is that. I'm currently getting hit by an enemy that's so far away that I cannot even see it right now, but like in this entire open area, as long as they have line of sight, they will just be able to hit you slightly. when they're close to you, that's basically when they'll be able to like stop you in place as well. Like right now, they're just dealing a really minor amount of damage. And kind of hoping they're going to spawn in front of me one of these days, because this is just kind of ridiculous. Like, they are somewhere over there, but I cannot even see them. And it's just a matter of waiting for them to spawn near me, and then I can just actually shoot them. But you can at least hear the sound effect of them trying to damage me. That one might actually be pretty close to me. Yeah, that one's pretty close. I'm not actually even sure what the timing on this weapon is, honestly, when it comes to shooting these guys, because after a while they do become invulnerable. And I just never use this weapon. But whatever. It'll work. We're just gonna keep firing, gonna keep winning, gonna keep destroying. Is that one actually in a pillar? Like, is this really what's going on right now? Is that why I couldn't see them? Because it's actually just inside a wall? Entirely possible, I suppose. Good times. Alright. There we go. Please. And, like, it'll just seem like you're just doing so little on account that they're just continuously at green health again. But it's just because you're fighting a lot of different ones. And it's not entirely noticeable because they all look the same and they're all just teleporting all over the place. So it's like, what am I even doing with my life right now? But eventually, they're all going to be dead. And that'll be the day. I think I might actually be able to move forward now. Believe it or not, now is finally the time where we can actually proceed with this level. And I'm honestly tempted to just quick save after this battle and actually do the rest of this level later because, God, I'm not a fan. Also, there's a box over here. Contains some sniper rifle ammo. Only 3 bullets. Last 3 sniper rifle bullets of the game, I believe. That might be wrong. I don't remember what's in the last secret area anymore, but it's somewhere over here. But after killing those 5 ladies, we get into the next battle over here, which is just a bunch of stuff. It's a bunch of bugs. It's a bunch of these guys, little arachnoids. And we're basically going to be shooting a lot of them with rockets. Because that's how we've been doing just about everything here. There is a Christmas tree over there. I don't really have anything to decorate it right now, but if we had like a clear skeleton, then we could just throw its head inside the Christmas tree over there, and that could be kind of neat. And I believe there is actually an achievement for decorating every Christmas tree in a level. Someone pointed that out in the comments to me. And, oh, there we go. Like, we could have used that, but I chose not to because I just wanted it to be dead. But, yeah, apparently there is an achievement for decorating every Christmas tree, and apparently that also unlocks, like, the reindeer skin or something like that. It's something for multiplayer. I've honestly not played this game in multiplayer very often / at all, so it's just one of those things I've never really paid attention to. But it's possible that I'm correct in that statement, so there you go. We're just going to keep trying to shoot things and try not to get too killed. There's actually a reasonable amount of health and armor in this particular area, so taking damage is not really that big of a problem. But obviously we want to avoid it as much as possible. There is going to be a red biomechanoid in this area at some point as well, I believe, so obviously we want to try and avoid fighting that while we're also fighting all this other stuff, but it can become pretty unavoidable every now and then. There is also a Devastator lying around here somewhere, like a Devastator and then also just another 20 bullets, so that is definitely worthwhile to grab as well, due to the fact that, well, that's just a really good gun. And later parts of this level, it does become a really useful weapon, so having that is pretty good. It's pretty great. Did I grab the 3rd secret yet? I did not, so I guess we're gonna go over there. I did walk in that direction, but I guess I got distracted by an enemy or something. I'm actually gonna, like, try and decorate the tree just for good times. Grab it, grab the head, throw it in the tree. Sticks in there, counts as a decoration. It's beautiful. You can do that with basically Gnar eyeballs and the hearts of the purple rocketeers and clear heads, and I think you could probably do it with like a scrapjack head as well. Just pretty much whatever you can throw, I think, but I'm probably only going to do it with that clear skeleton head just because it's fun, just because it's so great. So here's some ammo. This is a secret area. This is secret area number 3 over here. And that's it, really, just some ammo for the laser gun, which again you wouldn't be able to get unless you got it in a previous level, which seems a bit silly. I don't understand that choice either, honestly, why there are certain weapons that are secret only weapons. I mean, obviously the sniper rifle is ridiculous, it's super strong in this game, but due to just the sheer lack of ammo, even if it wasn't a secret weapon, you can only carry 25 bullets with it in this game, so it's not like you were gonna get super overpowered anyway, I don't think, but whatever. That's just how the game works, I suppose. Also, I installed another mod. Actually, I had it installed, but I activated it, which is the Arbiter Axe mod by Red Biomechanoid, which changes my axe into a scythe, or at least it changes it into the weird axe thing from DMC Devil May Cry, which I've never actually played, but it was the most scythe-like thing I could find. I was trying to find a scythe. I couldn't find one. This was the closest thing. That's the story of my life. And it'll make sense why I got that in a later part of the game, but I might every now and then switch to the hammer, and it might look a bit weird when it's like, hey, that's not a hammer. But other than model, it functions exactly the same as a regular hammer, just so you know. It just looks a little bit different, and I thought it would be kind of cute to do it for one of the later parts of this level. And you'll definitely understand why. More ammo in a gift box over there. I'm kind of scared to move forward here, just due to the sheer amount of enemies that hang out here, but I guess eventually I'm going to have to. I think there is like a couple bugs still firing at me as well, which is why I'm a little bit hesitant to move forward, but what are you going to do? Over here is the Devastator I talked about, along with the 20 bullets, totaling in 30 bullets, which is nice. Here's this, which is nice. Very important to have in your archway, just in case you need it. And we're just gonna keep going. I don't know how many enemies do actually, like 970. There should be 3 more enemies here somewhere. I don't know where. Usually it takes a while for all of them to come out of this hole. Like, it takes a really long time for all of them to actually sort of spawn out of here. And it's very possible that there's just some bugs walking around here and there, but I might just have to move forward just to speed it up a bit. But just in case, I'm actually gonna have a little walk around. Just gonna grab that armor over there in any case, because having 100 armor, or at least close to it, is always a nice thing to have, obviously. But I don't actually see anyone else anymore, so it is possible that I wrote it down incorrectly, which is something I do sometimes. My notes are kind of incoherent. It's just a bunch of numbers. It doesn't actually specify where those numbers are or at which point I should have a specific number, but there you go. There's another one. So, probably doing something right over here. Maybe there's just like an enemy over there somewhere. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Eventually we'll have killed everything. I promise you that much. Yeah, I'm just gonna move forward, I think. And we're probably gonna have to run back in that direction anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much what we do, I don't think. So, just gonna move in this direction. Gonna spawn some bugs. There's a couple of them. In a second, we will actually have to run back again because of spooky, scary things, like a million billion clear skeletons. But, and there's another one. Like, every now and then, I guess it's gonna spawn an enemy behind me. I'm pretty sure I still missed one. So there is a very good chance a clear skeleton or, like, whatever is just gonna walk up behind me and hit me once. And hopefully it doesn't hurt too much. But if I suddenly take a large quantity of damage, I'm gonna blame it entirely on that. And not be too sad that all of that happened. Now, again, I could be using C4. Wouldn't be more of an ammo-efficient choice, I suppose. And that's the enemy I was talking about. But it doesn't really matter too much. After this battle, we're going to be finding 2 boxes. One filled with C4, one filled with rocket launcher ammo. So, again, it doesn't really matter too much. I'm actually going to not use that. That was kind of a waste of a sniper rifle shot, obviously. But I'm going to use this. I don't really know how well this works against this army, because you're only hitting single targets at a time, obviously. But the laser gun does hurt quite a lot, so might as well give it a shot. Especially seeing as I sort of forgot to refill on rockets before going in this direction, because I thought we could get more, and I was wrong. So I'm a little bit worried, but at least this gives us a chance to properly use the laser gun one of these days. It's one of the few times, honestly, that we've been able to do so far. And seeing as we've already walked so far back, I might as well actually just go back to this building over here and grab that. And just grab everything else here as well, which immediately refills just about everything that we were even slightly worried about. And yeah, we can just keep going. I'm pretty sure there's still a fair amount of enemies still alive, and there's a chance that, again, there's a clear skeleton somewhere in this area just running around, but I'm hoping that's not going to cause too big of a ruckus. There's also going to be some bugs in the floor here, so that might be why my numbers are currently incorrect. But we'll see about that, I suppose. Another Devastator. It's only 10 ammo, but still, it does the job fairly well. And indeed, there were a couple enemies just hanging out over here, so that is why we also missed a couple of enemies. Basically, I want to be at 1,053 enemies when I'm done with this place. Currently, I'm at 1,041. And it does count a couple of enemies which are coming up, like these bugs in the floor over here, obviously. And there's also this Scrapjack around the corner as well, which is going to hurt me a lot. But this, the next area is pretty much the reason why I installed this hammer mod, because it sort of amused me how much stuff you're going to be fighting over here. It's pretty silly. And that's 1,052. So with that, we are at 1,053. Thanks to Mr. Scrapjack over there. And before we move on in the Scrapjack's direction, we're actually going to go over here to grab some armor. And we're going to leave the health over here, obviously, because we are not able to pick it up. Would have liked a little bit more armor at this point, and we could probably go back and grab some, but I can't really be bothered, honestly. But this next area, it's ridiculous. And the scythe just seemed oddly appropriate for it. Changes the music a little bit. And I believe this is actually the area where, if you play survival mode, this is where one of the levels take place. I might be wrong on that, actually, but that sounds like a true statement. So first of all, we're going to fight a bunch of Scrapjacks, which I forget about every single time, so we're immediately going to run back, because that's a lot of rockets flying in our direction that I don't really want to deal with, but yeah, keep that in mind. There are Scrapjacks here, but we have a Devastator, and we can very easily dispatch a lot of them in a reasonably short amount of time, without any real difficulties. If you are playing this level from like the custom level select thing, you might want to be a little bit careful with your Devastator ammo, but simultaneously, in this area you're going to get a lot of Devastator ammo pickups as well, so it doesn't really matter too much what you do here, but obviously the rocket launcher is again the more ammo efficient choice, because there's a box over there which contains an infinite amount of rockets. So unfortunately these do not exist for the Devastator, but the rocket launcher is definitely not a bad weapon as well, and we just picked up a Devastator ammo power-up there as well, so it doesn't really matter too much. I think after this battle, I'm actually going to take a little break, just because there's a lot of talking to do in this level, and I wouldn't mind to have a sip of water or something, like something to quench the thirst from this constant speaking and constant fighting. But this part over here, there's just bugs. There's bugs everywhere, and they're coming out of just about every hole possible. And using this weapon is really unsafe. It's not a good idea, honestly, because you're bound to get hit by a lot of range attacks. But it's just fun. Like, I just enjoy using this big axe thing to just kill a whole bunch of bugs in one hit at a time. This is probably also a reasonable spot to get that achievement for killing like 5 enemies with the spinning attack. But it's also worth mentioning that there are actually enemies that are spawning behind us right now. This is pretty much the only area where that happens. And the only thing it spawns behind us is more bugs, which is ridiculous. But it's kind of something that Serious on the second encounter did as well, where it would spawn, like in the final level, that is just a giant level, and it would just spawn a bunch of enemies behind you at some points. The thing is, that game did it with more interesting enemies. It didn't do it with just bugs. In fact, bugs weren't even in that game, but like, this is just kind of ridiculous, honestly, with what it spawns behind you, and there's a very small chance of just actually dying here because of nonsense. And obviously, you can just use C4 to take care of a lot of these enemies as quickly as possible. And you can also use rockets, because again, there's a box right there. You can refill on either one of those very quickly. And one rocket is enough to kill one of these guys. The splash damage on these guys tends to be a little bit awkward, because I guess they're just really big, and for some reason that just soaks up all the splash damage around them for some reason. And that's kind of unfortunate, I guess, because otherwise the rockets would be a lot more of a better solution in the end, but whatever. At least now we get to hit them a lot with our sledgehammer slash arbiter axe or whatever it's called. And it's just a lot of fun to do this. Because it is the kind of level where at least you get the chance to use pretty much every weapon in the game in some sort of effective way, which is pretty cool. That it actually has like one group of one army where using this weapon is actually a sensible thing. Because there's a lot of enemy combinations where it just wouldn't work. Arguably, Nars would be even better for that, I guess, if you want to show off how well the sledgehammer works. But oddly enough, there isn't actually a single Gnar in this level. I don't know why, but they just don't exist pretty much past the first half of the game. There's like virtually none of them past like the first couple of levels, which is really strange. But we are currently at 1146 kills, which means we can move onwards in the level. And it means I'm actually going to take a break in the middle of this level. Not something I don't think I've done before in any of the levels, but it's something I'm going to do in this one because it's kind of exhausting and I'm kind of bored. So I hope you enjoyed so far, and I will be back in just a second. The video will probably just not be split up at all. I might just make it one video. I might make it two. I'm not actually sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but we'll see about that next time. So I hope you enjoyed so far. Next time, I will be continuing with this level.